It's been a while.
It brings back some good memories. I was just joking. I was saying I did most of my time on the sideline, but it was fun. I learned a lot up here. It was a crazy transition in my life. Obviously with my story, that's kind of known now. I was going through some stuff, and it was really nice. Edmonton, the Eskimos, the city, gave me a chance. And for the short time I was up here, I went through a lot of growing pains, and I think that's kind of where a bit of the catalyst of the grooming period for me, and just becoming a legitimate young man and growing up. But yeah, I had a couple games where I did some stuff. When they activated me and I played, I thought I took advantage, but it's just tough. There's a lot of football, a lot of football players out there and a lot of talent.
You remember the most memorable game when you forced the fumble against Hamilton?
Yeah, the funny thing is, I had a great game. I had I think a couple tackles for loss, and then I closed out the game. And it was just a hustle play, I forget the quarterback's name.
Casey Printers.
Yeah, there we go. He was pretty quick. So he was like bootlegging out, or he was just scrambling out to the left. And I just peeled it back and just took an angle. And luckily for me, he jumped for the first down, and I just same shoulder, same foot him, helicoptered him. But the funny thing is as I saw that happen, the ball, and I saw one of my guys get it, I started celebrating, and you see another guy just kind of get taken off of his feet and almost take my ankle out, and it would have just crushed my leg. So I got really lucky after that. So, but yeah, that was probably my best game for sure.
There's not a lot of holdovers here. I think the best relationship you had is with Calvin McCarty.
Oh yeah. Absolutely, yeah. I was thinking about him today. We were all in the Edmonton house. We stayed at, it was like a condominium that turned into a hotel for us, and it was like a bit of a frat house almost, like a lot of camaraderie. We just always hung out. He was one of the guys I definitely hung out with, and I related to him because he had his wife and his young child up there, and my wife is over there just outside of all this right now. We had a young daughter at the time as well, so we just had that bond. We played video games together, so, and I know he's done well. I'm not sure. I haven't tracked him of late. Is he still
here?
That's
here?
awesome, man. That is great.
He was actually saying the first time he saw you in wrestling on TV, he was like, "Why did he wait so long?"
That was just my journey. You just never know. I mean, I legitimately thought I was going to be a football player. Even to this day, I'm still stubborn, and I was pretty good, y'all. Like, for real, I was decent. But it just works out the way it does. Sometimes you have to have one door closed in order to see the next open. But that's what's really cool, and that's kind of just with my perspective and just everything that I'm doing and I've gone through. The relationships are something that you always take with you. No matter where I go or how long it's been, just to be able to kind of recall back and just think about those times. Dario Romero was another guy that I hung out. We would just chill and play Guitar Hero like it was like a new thing. That's how old we are. But he was just a cool dude, and he was like, he played defense like I played defense, and like I used to watch him because he was like the stud, the starter. You know what I mean? He was the man for us. But I just, in my head, I was like, me and D could have been a nasty combo. And the times that we were in, and even in practice, you know what I mean? He was he was a veteran starter, but he still busted his ass in practice. So it was really cool to, always to be able to bond with similar athletes to yourself.
What's it like to be part of a big summer blockbuster movie as well?
This is a whole different monster. Yeah, being a part of Hobbs and Shaw, it's been like an exhilarating roller coaster. It's pretty much like the movie. It's just been fun, you know what I mean, and outlandish. And to go from the premiere in Hollywood, they closed down like 4 or 5 blocks to run through that premiere. Thousands of people everywhere. Jump on a jet, head back to Philly for Extreme Rules, to tag with The Undertaker. I mean, it's just like, it's storybook stuff, and one day I'm gonna have to write this book. But yeah, just such what a blessing that whole week. I mean, I had the ESPYs that week. I did a few other projects as well, and then to top off Hollywood with the premiere, to be there with Dwayne, to be a part of that project, part of Fast and Furious. If you would have told me, when I was sitting on that sideline, acting like I was doing something, that this was all gonna happen and I would be back, in this situation, I'd say you're a liar.
As you came into the stadium today, did you check to see if there were any bearded guys like following you, trying to throw something?
Yeah, I almost feel like R-Truth at this point, where it's like I'm competing for that 24/7 championship, and I got to keep my eyes everywhere. But You know, it's one of those deals. It's fun, and you know, it's not like what I've been doing for the past, you know, couple years, just championship wrestling in that ring, you know, just working my butt off in there. It's nice to tell different types of stories and for it to resonate, you know, for people to talk about it. That's kind of, you know, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, you know, if people are talking about it, you know, consistently, you know, water cooler talk throughout the week, then it's doing something. So it's really a different point in my career to where I'm enjoying just doing different stuff. You know, different opportunities have been a blessing.
Did you get the diagnosis right around the time you were coming up here?
No, I did a rookie camp with the Minnesota Vikings, and then it was about almost a full year's time, year and a half, but it was kind of like, you know, this past time, you know, where once I started feeling better and once, you know, my blood levels got to a certain point, I was physically clear. I mean, you don't have that prognosis, that remission, that molecular remission, but from the tests and the labs, it you know, I have a normal lab to where I can, but you know, it was so difficult at the time. It was so ahead of its time, and it just put a giant asterisk next to my name. So it was really tough. And, you know, if I was a team or an owner, would I want to take a chance? You know, for an unproven player. So for Edmonton to give me the opportunity, it was such a blessing. You know, and even as a short one, it's still, you know, it's still a part of my journey. It's still a part of my path.
How much did that push you though back then?
Oh, well, I mean, it's like anything. Anytime you want something and it's like, no, you can't have it. As the man in me, I'm like, oh, I have to get it now, whatever I have to do. But it was tough. But at the same time, it put a huge chip on my shoulder. And I think to this day, consistently just like if it feels like that chip's floating away, something in my life happens to make me want more, to make me want to reach higher. And if that's going to continue to push me, then I'll take a chip on my shoulder every single day.
Professional football player, wrestler, actor. Could you imagine this when you're a kid, when you're 17, 18 years old? Could you imagine kind of life's plan unfolding this way?
No, not this way. I just wanted to be, you know, I wanted to be a football player. I wanted to be a superstar. Like, I wanted to be like an influenceable person, someone that would make an impact, somebody that was very influencing. But I wouldn't have ever, I always thought it was going to be as a defensive tackle. You know, like, he's the big man. Somehow I was going to kind of carve my niche and be that household defensive tackle, that crazy guy, whether, you know, there's so many different names. Like, if I have to do it Sap's way or Hoven's way, one I'm going to paint my face or I'm going to do something. People are going to, you know, recognize me. But just for you to go off that list, just in the moment there, you saying all that, it still shakes me a little bit to know that this is how it turned out. The days I was running, you know, doing drills on this field, you know, walking to the practice fields, hanging out in this locker room, working out in this facility, I would have never thought you'd say professional wrestler, actor. I used to actually, I forget his last name. He was a huge pick for Edmonton when I was around. His first name was Adam, big defensive line. Yes. Yeah. I used to joke with him and say, "You're a professional wrestler, brother. You don't even, you are totally a wrestler and you don't even know it." And I think he took it as a compliment because he was like a pretty outlandish, charismatic dude, big boy too. But I think that was me kind of getting it away from me, just wanting to be a football player and saying everybody else could be a wrestler when I was the wrestler, you know.
Yeah. Calvin told a funny story about how you were talking one day during the 08 season, and you said to Calvin, you know, if this football thing doesn't work out, I'm going to go to WWE. And Calvin said, yeah, I ain't going to work out. Well, you got the last laugh. But maybe talk about that transition, because you retired at the end of that 08 season, right?
Yeah, I was just football. I just felt like it moved on, and I'm one of those people that if you can feel it, you should make a move, you know. And it was like resonating, and I saw the door closing, and it was one of those things where if I was a single, you know, young man at the time, if I didn't have a daughter, you know, that I had to pay for and like provide a life for and take care of that one over there, I probably would have chased. I really would have. I would have kept chasing and just been like, no, this is what I said I'm going to be. I'm going to do something different than everybody else in my family, and I'm going to be a football player. But it just happened the way it did, man, and that transition was crazy. But, you know, I really did not give, people like Calvin much, to believe in, because I was so just tunnel vision on football. I really did want it. I really wanted to prove that I could play this game. But God has his way,
Mm-hmm.
Is there a parallel between kind of football and wrestling, whereas maybe you have the talent, but you kind of have to wait and bide your time and wait for that one opportunity?
I definitely think there's similarities, and I think there's a reason why you see so many football players do well in professional wrestling and entertainment. On this field, there's a lot of charisma that happens. There's a lot of intensity and aggression and small stories within it, and it's a fight story. I mean, I can tell you, we can get every defensive lineman and offensive lineman out here and ask them the same question. How is it? It's a fight throughout the whole game with the same dude over and over and over. And there's verbiage, there's promos being cut, you know what I mean? You're saying all kinds of stuff. You hate each other at the time, but I mean, it's one of those deals when you come out of it, it's like, okay, I can leave the character on the field. How you doing, man? How's your family? You know what I mean? Yeah. But at the same time, you have to have that killer instinct. And if you can transition that to the ring and be able to grab onto those emotions, when I celebrate, when I fire up in the ring, I just picture making a sack. I just picture myself leveling a quarterback, meeting the running back in the hole 3 yards in the backfield, murdering them, just running clean over them. That's what I picture in order to give me that energy, that real life intensity, in order to translate it to the ring and show them, exactly how I feel through that physicality. So, but yeah, I definitely think that that's why the bridge is so strong between football and wrestling, opposed to other sports as well.